everyone. This session is really focused on email marketing case studies. And so with me today, I have Angela, Zara, and David, and they're all going to be speaking to you about their experiences with email marketing. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over, and you guys can introduce yourselves on what you do for each of your companies.
Sure. I'm Angela. I work for LegalZoom. I'm Senior Email Marketing Manager. And at LegalZoom, I'm just responsible for anything email. So any kind of promotional emails, transactional emails, that's my role.
Great.
Hi, my name is Zara. I'm an affiliate marketing manager with One Brother Studios. I primarily focus on the affiliate marketing channel, but there's email marketing is a big portion of that for new user acquisition.
David Lorango, Senior Manager Customer Acquisitions at Roll Global. You guys probably haven't heard of Roll Global, but you have heard a lot of our brands. Fiji, Palm Wonderful, Wonderful Pistachios, and Wonderful Halos, a brand that used to be Cuties, same product, different brand name. We have an internal agency, so I worked on some of the brand side, but now I work internally on customer acquisitions, which includes email, paid search, SEO, and all of our other kind of acquisition channels.
Okay. You can move on to it. And I think I've met everyone. So Penny Delgadillo, I work for Microsoft and I run our ISV global marketing. So I help our app partners monetize their applications. So with that, I have some statistics to share with the group. So one of the big key trends is mobile. And so by 2014, they say that mobile internet usage will surpass desktops. And then of the 66% of Gmail opens occur on a mobile device. So I think you'll see a lot of those trends as these speakers speak on what's going on with email. And also lastly, in 2013, 13% of all leads have come from email marketing. It's the third most effective way to actually market and reach audiences. So it's not a dying dinosaur by any means. Super important to any business. So with that, with a show of hands, how many people are actually doing email marketing today? Okay, so you're looking for tips on how to optimize. And then how many of you are potentially starting new businesses or thinking of ways to start an email demand gen campaign? Okay, so a few of you. So that gives you guys some context of what's going on in the room. So our first question is really what's going on and what's working in the industry. So David, why don't you take a stab at that first?
Sure, so what's working specifically?
Yep, what's working specifically?
So we've noticed that as email has started to get more sophisticated, we've gone less from a batch and blast. This is for our brand like Teleflora. We've gotten more specific and more targeted. So we're sending out less emails, but more emails to the people and exactly what they're looking for. So, for example, we would do, let's say, a bouquet of the day, but some of the consumers may not be opening bouquet of the day. So we say, okay, well, they're looking at anniversary. If they're interested in anniversaries, we send them an email reminding them, hey, that you sent this flower last year, don't forget the anniversary this year. So we're seeing increased conversions on those, and we're seeing less drop-off.
Sarah?
Yeah, I would agree with David. Definitely seeing a lot more targeting for sure. We're not sending out as many emails. Content is extremely important. Keeping it fresh, sending out promotions, and a lot of cross-promotion if you have different brands. That's a great way of introducing one product to another group of your users. And creative testing, just an ongoing A/B testing of subject lines and the creative method. Angela?
Sure. Just to add to all that, using customer behavior to trigger campaigns as well as personalized email content has been really effective for us. One of our most successful email programs is actually triggered upon a customer action of starting our online form not completing, and so we call it the abandoned cart campaign. It's not really a cart, but we call it the abandoned cart campaign, and that actually converts really well. So making sure that you're sending those at the right time, making sure you're sending the right content is really important. And also, as David mentioned, focusing on your subscribers that are active. We used to send our promotional campaigns to basically our full list. And, we saw a lot of a negative impact to deliverability and sender score. So as soon as we said, okay, we're going to suppress anybody that is inactive or not interested. Inactive to us is anybody that has not opened or clicked an email in the last year. as soon as we suppressed all those people, we saw every metric go up. So deliverability went up, open rates, engagement, click rates, and even conversions. So just really fine tuning who you're sending to and what you're sending is really the key.
Okay. And so now that we've talked, question.
Did you say you got rid of those people that weren't opening up their emails like after a year or so?
Yeah, so we made a conscious effort to suppress them from getting
Suppress, get rid of them?
Yeah, well, they're still in our database, but we don't actively send.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you send to them at all?
For certain campaigns, like certain kind of announcements that we need to make or anything transactional related to.
The servers, yeah.
Yeah, but promotional stuff, we try not to.
Did you want to?
Yeah, I wanted to add to that. So when we see someone who hasn't consistently opened, we create a campaign around trying to get them to open again or convert again. So we put them on a separate list and we give them one last push. Now sometimes we give them a higher value to try to get them to convert. And we have to do a little bit of data analysis there to see, are they worth it? Is it worth giving them the extra value? If they're going to continue to purchase, then they are. And it's better to give them, let's say, a 30% offer, a one-time value, than it is to just let them drop off, because then we'll keep them on and then they might be more engaged. So for us, we take that list and are very conscious that these are people that may not be interested, but we do want to get them back and purchasing again.
Great. So now that we've talked a little bit about what's working, I know that the room is always interested in the tools that you're using to sort of manage your database, and then we were talking earlier about this concept of automation. So can you speak and start first a little bit about what you guys are using internally and what's working from a tools perspective?
Sure. So our email service provider is Responses, and they're top of the line email service provider. They're focusing now on not just doing email, but doing cross-channel stuff. So integrating campaigns with push notifications, with SMS, display retargeting. So right now we're still just using them for email, but we're excited to partner with them and see what else we can do.
We're using a platform, Guestmail, and then we're also going to be adding Pronto for different areas of the business. Optimizely could be used for some A/B testing. If brand sensitivity is an issue, there's tools like Lashback. That's very helpful for email campaigns.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Lashback.
Thank you.
Sure. And then there's affiliate marketing tracking tools as well, like a HitPath or a Cake Marketing that also can track email campaigns as well as do A/B testing.
Currently, we use SilverPop for all of the brands. Teleflora is obviously the largest email sender at Roll Global. We are exploring under contract negotiations for exploring some of these other email service providers, Responses being one of them. We are looking at doing more sophisticated retargeting, more sophisticated behavioral targeting. And SilverPop has been great. We haven't had any issues with it. I think just some of the other guys that we're looking at can be a bit more complicated and sophisticated than what we currently are utilizing the SilverPop platform for.
That's great, because they're running on Azure. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Question.
So question, just to add to that question, what database are you using? And are you self-service or full service?
And so for the audience that's watching online, the question is, what databases are you guys using, and are you self-service or full service?
For the ESP. Yeah,
For
just
the
curious
ESP.
as to how the data flows, right? And if you're architecting it in a way that the data goes straight into the ESP, and then you're doing all your segmentation out of the ESP, and if you're doing it or if the ESP is doing it themselves.
Yeah, for us at Roll, it's a little bit of both. You know, on each of our websites, some of it's a bit harder for us to integrate SilverPop with some of these custom platforms that we have, so the data isn't directly feeding into the back end. For our Teleflora, we do have a custom solution that is feeding directly into their back end, but then we also have separate segmentation tools that we're using that are different from what we actually have in SilverPop, because it's just not as sophisticated, or we haven't been able to find a way that works, because we have Teleflora, but we also have our individual florists, e-florists, that have their own separate accounts, and we have to find a way to integrate all of that. So we have a unique issue because we can't just have a customer database, and we don't just have a business-to-business database. It all rolls into one. And we're mostly self-serve.
Yeah, ours is all set up through, directly from the sites into our email service provider, and all is self-serve on our end.
We are self-service with responses, and our database of record is in-house. But we do have jobs that run that pass the data to responses on a regular basis. And in terms of the logic of putting together campaigns, we use both responses, go into the tool and do a query and set up a campaign. And we also use API calls. So sometimes our database, we just say, this person did this, send an email, tell the responses to send an email, and then the responses will send it.
Perfect, so now I want to sort of shift gears into some case studies. So there's probably some campaigns that you've run that have been more successful than others. So could you potentially share with the group campaigns that have gone well, or campaigns that maybe didn't go well, but you were able to sort of turn them around or recover?
Sure. So traditionally we have a monthly newsletter that we send to our base. And it's been, for the most part, static, so it's the same version for anybody within a certain segment. And so recently, we totally revamped the newsletter. We made it all the content dynamic based on different customer behavior, so what the person purchased, what they abandoned, what they browsed on our site. And by doing this, it simplified a lot of the campaign execution, because we didn't have to have so many different versions to set up. We just had one campaign. And we also saw a huge increase in engagement. So we actually doubled our click rate just by doing that. So that has proven to be successful for us. I think we're going to try to do that for more promotional campaigns that we run. Using customer behavior has been a great tactic for us.
What we've seen successful is using the buyer's past behavior and kind of offering them suggestions and the promotions. That's when we see our highest lift. Anytime we have a stronger promotion, they kind of anticipate it now from us, so we're seeing them kind of hold off on certain sales. And the time of week, we definitely have to kind of stop sending on weekends. People don't like to shop for DVDs so much on weekends.
So something that Teleflora has done that has worked really well for us, they had a business issue with trying to get people to purchase flowers on Tuesdays. That was their law. So our internal agency worked with Teleflora to create a campaign, Teleflora Tuesdays. They would send out emails on Tuesdays with special deals, special bouquets, special kinds of offers. And that actually showed a lift, and that actually worked very well. One that didn't work as well, we did a sort of, not a bouquet of the day, but something similar on Fridays, where we offered that, and we thought that would increase purchase, but it actually didn't. It sort of flatlined in a way. So what worked on the Tuesday and solved the business case problem didn't work as well on a Friday. So we had to go back to the traditional kind of email campaigns that we were running. And for some of the CPGs, because I'm talking a lot about Teleflora, we do branding emails a lot as well. And I think when you think about branding emails, do people want to receive email from Palm or from Wonderful Halos if there's no coupon in there? So we're kind of tasked with this challenge. How do we get people interested in the content that we're sending? So with Palm, what we saw worked was we would send, cocktail of the day or recipe of the day, which actually had a very large open rate compared to some of the other branding emails. So it's really about understanding what the consumer was looking for from a brand like Palm outside of just offers, because we are very aware that people really do want discounts when they're coming to CPG brands. But if you give them content that they're interested in, that they can use the product for, and it isn't just something that's pushing a brand message, we see that it's successful.
Great. Do you guys have any commentary on that topic of content? I know that's a huge trend in terms of, making sure that you have more engaging content in emails, such as videos and other things that like click to chat or demos. Have you guys all experimented with that?
We have not yet experimented with that, but just in terms of regular content for us, it's we're trying to add in some like trivia or just some studio type information that maybe hasn't been just readily available.
Yeah.
And incorporating that to add more value to why you would open a WB email versus like a Amazon or Best Buy.
How about you, Angela?
Yeah, we have utilized videos in our emails, or click to link to a video, which those links actually perform really well. And usually those videos, we're a legal services company, so it's an attorney talking about, how you should form a business. But yeah, most of the videos are educational. Those have proven to be very successful for us. And in terms of content, some of our content is kind of long and very verbose, and it's a legal company. So what we've done to try to improve the engagement is, especially if we're doing a special offer, we've been streamlining the content so that it's more visual and there's one single call to action. And so that has been successful for us.
Got it. And then on the topic of mobile, right, because that's another sort of trend for email. What are you guys doing about mobile? How are you thinking about mobile? Do you even think about mobile? You want to go ahead and start it?
Sure. So we've been looking into doing responsive design for our email. So responsive design, if you guys are not aware, is the email design will shift depending on what device the person is opening your email on. So we've actually engaged with Return Path, which is a tool that helps you monitor deliverability. And they also have a tool that helps you gain insight on what devices people are opening your emails on. And so we've used that data to help us prioritize which campaigns we need to start, putting in responsive design and optimizing for mobile. So, we learned that most people open our promotional emails on their phone, but the transactional stuff they're actually getting on their desktop. So it kind of helps us to prioritize which campaigns to start with.
That's great.
No, we're actually doing very similar things. We're still seeing the majority of transaction happen on desktop. So we haven't officially put all of our effort into the mobile side, but our pages are all optimized.
So mobile is actually a really big area of focus for Roll across the board. So we got on board as quickly as we could with responsive design for emails. So we work with vendors that help us develop these emails that can look great on a mobile device, or look great on a desktop, or look great on a laptop. And so when we start thinking about mobile, I think we're not alone in that we don't see conversions on mobile devices. We do see opens, and we see a lot of opens on mobile phones, but we don't see them convert. And and even in a brand like Teleflora, there's a lot of people who are out there looking and shopping, and they want to make sure that they get that purchase right. So I think when they open it on a phone, they may come back to it, but they're still going to be doing some of that shopping elsewhere. So what we try to do is we try to install some kind of like tracking or click tracking so that we can actually track that purchase back from the email open all the way through to conversion. It's still not easy. It's still not something that we're perfect at, but we're getting a lot better. And especially with design, we have an internal design team, so which is great because these guys are fantastic. But what we come to the table with, and we're working with them, is what is best practices. We want these emails to look beautiful, and they do, but we also need to make sure that some of these things are best optimized for mobile, because they look at it as a one-pager. We're saying, well, let's look at it first on mobile, the smallest screen. So is the offer right up front? Is it compelling? Are they getting exactly what they need right when they open it so that they can either remember it, save it, or come back to it later? But making sure that when they scroll down, that they're not having to look for it. So mobile is top of mind at Roll.
Great. And then another sort of big trend is around this automation, right? So especially for you, Angela, and potentially for you, David, where you have retention programs, returning buyers and so forth. So what are you guys doing to drive efficiencies around email automation? I know you had mentioned push notifications and so forth. So David, why don't you start with the mic in your hand?
We're getting more sophisticated. It's something that we've been looking at. So obviously abandoned cart, I think probably everyone is doing something like that. When you sign up, let's say for an email, you're obviously getting a discount. I think these are kind of standard best practices. But what we are trying to do is, again, like we talked about, if they bought at a specific birthday or a specific occasion, we're going to try to meet them before that occasion comes up so that we're top of mind when they are searching. Or maybe they're forgetting, or hey, don't forget that there's a birthday coming up or something like that. So all the guys in the room know how we feel when we forget our girlfriends or wives' birthdays, right? So Teleflora is helping you. But with our other brands, like our agro brands, we're exploring this now. I mean, when a consumer gets an offer, we'd like to trade them up to bigger sizes potentially. So it's something like Palm Wonderful, we have an 8 ounce, we have a 16 ounce. Ideally, we'd want them buying the 48 ounce. So what we're doing there is automating, if they open and if they actually converted or downloaded one of our coupons, then the next email 2 weeks later is, hey, here's a special offer for a 48 ounce juice.
And I would say Teleflora is working really well because I forget my mom's birthday, and every year they know that I order her flowers on December 4th.
Yeah.
So they remind me on
Great.
December 2nd.
I'll let them know.
Yeah, thanks.
Actually, I don't have much to add to what David said. We're doing very similar things. There's definitely been a part we're doing a lot of segmentation between buyers, excuse me, and non-buyers. And we're looking into doing more of your past purchases and automating that type of email, but it's work in progress right now.
So Penny, you mentioned retention. So one of our biggest focuses right now is trying to cross-sell additional products to people that have already purchased something from us. So what we have recently done is automate what we call our Next Steps campaign. And for example, if someone starts a business and they form an LLC, they may need to get federal ID, tax ID, or you might need some tax consultation services. So what we do is we try to figure out what they selected in their online form when they give us information on what kind of business they're starting, and then we use that data to help populate content in that Next Steps email to say, oh, if you're a real estate company, then you might need a deed transfer, or stuff like that. So we have been doing it manually for a while now, so
So you literally have someone looking at all the
okay. Pull list, we upload it, and then we attach it to the campaign. It's all very manual, and it took a lot of development to actually automate it. So we're in testing phases right now, but it's looking really good.
That's great. I do have an example on automation I'd like to share with you guys. So I used to represent Office or Office 365, and when we first started with our trial, so when you think about the experience for our funnel, right, we want somebody to try, then buy, and we offered a 30-day trial. And what we realized is that our trial had a 25-step process, whereas Google's only had maybe 12. So we quickly realized that we needed to get that 25-step process down to like 9 clicks. And so we were able to actually convert our trials at a third of a rate faster than we were with the 25-click trial. And then from an automation perspective, what we did is we sent out email notifications on day 1 of the trial, day 5 of the trial, day 7 of the trial, day 15, hey, do you want to convert now? Why wait the extra 15 days to get you your 30 days? And that really helped us from a guide the user via email to what they need to do. And so that automation piece for us is really successful, and obviously at Microsoft we continue to invest in that in a big, big way. So let's talk a little bit more about like what else is coming in terms of trends, like anything else that you guys are seeing that's sort of cutting edge that the users here should know about.
Cutting edge, well, you mentioned mobile earlier, so
Yeah.
we're focusing a lot on trying to do integrated campaigns and experiences through email and mobile. We're working on our first app right now, and so push notification will be something that we'll be looking into. So trying to integrate all of those different channels is kind of a big thing for us on the horizon.
Great. How about you, Sarah?
Actually, one of the things that we're actually doing right now is on the back end, looking at a lot of the data in terms of the domains and where they're signing up from that perspective. That also seems to be something we haven't tested in the past that we want to look into a little bit more, that we've seen success with on the affiliate side, and try to incorporate that in on the retention side. Great. David?
So this may be a really big task. It may be something that might take more time than I think it will. But ideally, what we're looking to do is being able to have one database where we can see where all our customers are in social, email, and any other channel that we're talking to them. So by being able to do this, we can then start scheduling emails. If we can do this via tweets or something like that, or hashtags, so looking at something like that to start automating emails in that way. Or if we can't, we can start looking at where they are in the funnel. Did they visit us via a Facebook ad and then drop off there, and then we're going to trigger it from that ad, and it might be a different ad or something like, or a different email. But our trend right there is to try to integrate social with email and all of our other databases.
Huge trend too. Great. Well, at this point, I'd like to open it up to the room for any questions that you may have. Yes, sir.
What kind of email package are you guys using? For small company, you may use like Constant Contact, but in your size company, what do you guys use?
So, well, like I mentioned, we use Silverpop. We're looking at some of these, like an exact target or responses, looking at, and maybe Silverpop again, if they offer the things that we are looking to, these spaces we're looking to grow in. I have used Constant Contact. I would bet everybody up here has at some point or another. I personally thought that they were great. And there are a couple other guys out there, but I mean, it comes down to, I think, when you're looking at something on a smaller scale, from what my experience has been, is with whitelists, they need to look at our emails and they need to make sure that you have a double opt-in. And some of the other guys that we look at might have a little, I don't want to say spammy, but they're not as rigorous. So Constant Contact is very rigorous, making sure that you have all those emails everybody wants to be on there. I'm sure everybody wants to be on our email list, right? No, we don't spam.
Absolutely.
But in case that they don't, I mean, there are other providers that might still have whitelists, but I think it comes down to, is deliverability the goal? Is it making sure that everybody's on there so that you can send? So assessing what are your primary goals, but I've had great experience with Constant Contact.
Yeah, we're using YesMail and Bronto, two different platforms. And then there's also MailChimp on a smaller level that's.
Yeah, we use MailChimp.
Yeah.
Great.
I think Zara and David covered them. I've used Constant Contact for a small business. But yes, at LegalZoom we're using Responses, which is a bigger enterprise solution. But I have heard of MailChimp as well. And I think there's also other solutions for smaller businesses that incorporate email and other channels too, that are more specific to industries. So you might want to look into something like that as well.
Other questions? Yes.
I have a weird question. So we're starting to see more, or I'm starting to see more emails coming through with emoji cons in the subject line. Are you guys testing that? And I've seen a couple of articles on it. It just seems a little odd. Are you seeing or trying or testing any of those, or is that just a weird fad? Or is it the most awesome secret ever? Is it awesome or weird?
So for the folks, because you're behind, for the folks on camera, we're asking about emoji cons, and is that factor phenomenon? Yeah.
It's funny you mention that because I was just thinking about that. You know, as a consumer, you know, the subject lines with the special characters always stand out in my inbox. So our email marketing team was super excited to test this for our emails. And actually it didn't perform very well. The open rate was flat against subject lines without it. And if you look at conversion, the people that opened the subject line with the special character converted way worse than the regular subject line. So it could be that our target audience does not respond well to that, but it was definitely worth it to test.
Okay, I had to ask.
So I'd be
Yeah.
interesting from a consumer standpoint. Like,
Yeah, we haven't seen it work either, and it gets filtered a lot, actually. Our open rates have been down. Yeah, exactly. So we've kind of shied away from that.
We haven't tried it too much, but we didn't see it as negative when we did, but we just didn't see it, we didn't see enough of a lift to keep doing it. Now, on the topic of subject lines in general, when we were testing it, sometimes the emotional appeal, I think marketers forget that that's a crucial part of marketing, but not a lot of people do it in their emails. So something like guess what you saved today, or special offer for you, or secret only. We've seen work as well as some of the ones that show the offer up front, or tell what you're saving today, something like that. So I think emojis are kind of getting at that emotional appeal, but I think if you have something more emotionally enticing like that, it might get to that. And I think that's where we started to shift away from that kind of strategy of using special characters and more to trying to entice people with a particularly emotionally pulling message.
other questions? Yes.
So another growing trend is video in email. And I was wondering if you could share any testing, learnings, or metrics that you've done when it comes to video. And it's not necessarily there's embedded video and then there's video that just simulated or animated GIFs. But have you seen any results on your own testing that?
Yeah, so as far as I know, and somebody correct me if I'm wrong, Google's the only one you can really embed the video and start playing it right in there. At least that's what we've seen. We have explored it. We've worked with our dev guys to see if we could get other email providers like Outlook to do it. We just couldn't. But given that we are consumer facing and it's CPG, we do send a lot of emails that have videos. I mean, we have a lot of commercials, our Super Bowl spot for pistachios, we have our Halos ads. We will be having more ads in the future. So that's definitely something that we do. And we do see good click-through rate. I mean, I think we were talking a little bit about informational emails here. And the highest performing ones that we saw on Palm that were just strictly branded were how to open a pomegranate or history of the pomegranate or something like that. But in general, it's still a focus for us. We need to drive YouTube views, and it's a good branding element. I think people are more interested in clicking a video than they are reading some content or scrolling through because it might be something funny. Our ads tend to be a little interesting, or we hope they are. I hope you guys like them. But that's something that we think our consumers are interested in.
And curious if you've actually tested it for conversions as a metric. So less on branding, but actually has it converted better?
No, short answer, no, it hasn't.
Yeah, because actually
Right.
we're seeing the same thing.
Yeah.
We're struggling with trying to make it convert.
It's tough for video, I think, to convert for us in DTC in general. I'm looking at it with some of these other, some other folks that I'm talking with, but even there, if you're talking YouTube away from email, it's still tough to convert in that sense. I mean, video plus maybe an offer or sending them to a page that has a video and an offer, there we start to see something interesting. We actually start to see with our CPG brands, if it says go watch the video and get a coupon, people do click and it does convert there because then they start getting that brand trust. So that's something that we do look at, but if it's just a video to try to convert, we haven't, yeah.
Yeah, no, we actually haven't done anything video with the emails. Ours is just, we're still kind of elementary on that when it comes to video. And we have it on our landing pages. We do see that have a higher impact, but not on the email.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, most of our videos that are in our emails are more educational. They're not really the primary message in the email, so we haven't seen much conversion from them. But I know as a company, we are focusing on trying to do more videos on YouTube and using that as another marketing channel.
Yes. So first, this made me think of one other question. What about text message marketing? We heard Mattel talking about how they're using text for their Ever High program. Their Ever After program. I don't think Ever High is the appropriate term. That's what I was like.
Not for Mattel.
It's a California, Oregon, and Colorado-based product. But are you guys testing at all or thinking at all about text marketing?
Text is kind of a new thing for us as well. We haven't really looked at it for marketing purposes. I know it's down the line, but for now, most of our SMS messaging is based around your order, or if you have an attorney consultation coming up, more like reminding. But I think it's a little sticky with marketing with SMS because there's, obviously privacy laws are different, and you really need to have that opt-in.
And I was also thinking of MMS too, not just SMS, but MMS, just because I was thinking of the mobile video question. Anyway,
Yeah.
but you answered it.
So we are building mobile databases. We haven't sent a lot. I think there are legal concerns. We need to have a program in place for our agri-brands where it makes sense. We also have the additional problem, as we've talked about it, mobile doesn't convert all that well. So we need to have a strategy where if we say, hey, I think what we're looking at right now is retailer specific. Hey, there's a special promotion going on at Costco, for example, or Kroger or Rouse or Safeway. So go and get it because Palm's now $2 off, or Halos are out of season almost. So go in stores and make sure you get them, or we have last pomegranates of the season in stores, something like that. We're actively looking at developing programs, and I think we haven't seen a lot of data there yet because we haven't done a whole lot of it. With Teleflora, it's just been a struggle to track it. If we do it again, we see that they might visit the site, but we don't see a lot of mobile conversions. So we haven't decided to invest a whole lot in that channel.
Yes.
I have a comment to that question.
Okay.
My company has done text messaging, and we put the number in the message as well as a picture of the product that we're giving a special offer on, and it is converted to sales really well. Especially since you can click on the number and call right away from your phone. We do a lot of telephone sales that way.
And you're with Ultimate Beauty?
Ultimate Beauty Company stands as Beauty Warehouse.
I would buy beauty products from like that. I need it.
Yeah, we sell some to salons and supplies. Yeah,
Imagine
so-
a video showing you how to put the makeup on, and then you buy the video, but click through and purchase.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I have a question. I went back to the email marketing. When you say that, I mean, like emails, like thousands. When you return them, how many are returning real customers? And what's the most beneficial platform? You know, Facebook, Instagram, to get the best results on. And lastly, what about security for your clients?
Okay, let me repeat that one for the camera. So I think the question was on return on investment. So if you're sending, thousands, you said about 6,000 to 8,000 emails, what would be a logical return on investment? Second, to your comment about social, which networks are actually working better socially integrating with email?
And thirdly, what about security?
And security with your whitelisted people.
Yeah,
So you can start, Dave.
So when it comes to security, I mean, we rely largely on our email service providers to provide that security, so Silverpop at this point. When it comes to social channels, I think, and as far as who is the best customers, it tends to not be our Facebook and our social customers. It does tend to be email, or tends to be somebody who came to the site and then converted that way, and then they gave us their email through something like that. They have tended to be, I mean, that's for Teleflora. For some of our agri brands, I mean, it's kind of still, that's still true. We do see a lot of engagement on our social platforms, but where we see people converting and downloading coupons is largely when we send them emails, or largely when they come to the site. And the first question was? Or the second one, I think, was?
Yeah, the first comment was more on return on investment. So, if you're sending about 6,000 to 8,000 emails, like what would typically be the ROI on that?
Gosh, I don't think Teleflora would let me say, but what I can say is email it is a very lucrative channel for us. It's very hard because the floral space is extremely competitive, and when you have competitors at $19.95 for a bouquet, all of a sudden you start looking at other channels, paid search, affiliate, etc. It becomes extremely costly to get your CPMs in anywhere near something that we can do on email. So from that perspective, email is definitely the cheapest in terms of just reaching our consumers, and it does convert at a very high rate. So we really like that channel for us because it is just cost efficient.
Yeah, it's definitely cost efficient. I would rank it with email, then search, or affiliate for us in that order. Our email service provider, as well as managing the security of the transactions. And we're actually starting to see a lift through Facebook in terms of conversions. When we switch up the messaging, if we offer promotions through that and kind of tie it back in to what we have on the site, we're starting to see Facebook actually convert, which has been nice.
So as far as ROI, I don't think I can share specific numbers, but again, along the same lines as what David and Dara are saying, email is very cost efficient for us. It's not a huge part of our budget, but it converts very, very well for us. In terms of security, again, we rely on our email service provider to ensure that data is secure, and we also rely very heavily with our tech team to make sure that systems are set up correctly. And as far as Facebook or social, we've done a little bit of testing with ads integrating Facebook and email. We actually started doing Twitter lead gen, which is a promotional campaign where you can get users to sign up for your email program directly in Twitter. And that has performed well for us, depending on what kind of value we're messaging in Twitter.
And actually, that's a good call out as an example. So you get, 140 characters on Twitter. And what they're saying is on average, you can have a CTA that's 40 characters, and then you still have, 120 characters left to really drive that engaging content that we talked about that's sort of necessary. So like contests, signups, things like that, that's sort of an upcoming trend. That's great to hear that you're getting good results. Other questions? Yes.
How do you avoid like cannibalizing your like full price sales with your promotional offer sales?
Good question. We have a policy at our company to do only a couple major promotions a year, so that we don't run into the problem, as Nara was saying, is customers waiting for that email with a discount. So we have major promotions throughout the year. We try not to use too many discounts or promotion codes. Instead, we try to rely on targeting the customer at the right time when they're ready to buy. And so trying to do it that way.
Yeah, it's actually still a big problem for us. We're changing the value of the coupons that we have out. We're increasing everything, and then we've tried different promotions exclusive to each channel. That's something else that we've tried, and at different times. Like there's just a lot of scheduling and fine tuning with the different teams on what runs when.
You know, for a brand like Teleflora, I think you look at the floral space, there's always some discount. There's always some deal. You go to Retail Me Not, you go to any of these coupon sites, you're gonna find that there's some kind of discount, whether it's free shipping, 15% off, $15 off, 20% off. So we are in a space where at this point, we have to offer some kind of additional value. So the larger question is for us, we're sort of competing in a space where we can't even think about what is a non-promotional product. I mean, we still do that, but we have to be cognizant of the marketplace that we're in. When it comes to our CPG brands, I mean, again, the margin there might be small, so we have to make sure that when we do coupons, like for Halos, for example, it's a one-time only kind of thing, or maybe twice throughout the year, but it goes to our special consumers that we know have liked us on Facebook or are also following us on Twitter. So in that way, we try not to discount our products or agri brands, Fiji, et cetera. We really think that they're premium products that people will want to pay more. So if we're doing a discount, it's usually just to acquire new consumers. We don't want to keep giving it to people who have already bought. And that is something that comes from the top down.
And that's a great distinction because at Microsoft, you know, COGS is very serious to us, right? We have a price point that we absolutely cannot touch, and we don't do discounts. So where we try to differentiate is adding value. So if you think about the services I purchase, instead of discounting them for a year, what I do is I try to bundle with a value add. And so maybe I'll partner with somebody to deliver deployment services with my service. So that way it's like I'm not discounting my service, but they feel like they're getting something for free. And so that concept of partnership has sort of helped us keep our COGS in place. Because as with David, from the top down, we don't discount. Yes.
I just wanted to comment on that. So in the hotel world where I operate, what we do is we have revenue managers that sort of say, okay, we have this much inventory dedicated to business travelers, this much inventory leisure travelers, and so forth and so on in the distribution chain. And we can say, okay, I need to pick up rooms in like May for leisure, so I can discount to a certain degree and then, push from that level. So there's sort of like a budget that you already have set out and you already, it's kind of like predicted where you're going to need it and where you can promote, where you can push without sort of undercutting yourself. It's called yielding, really. And then what you do is you end up yielding on room space. So you don't displace any revenue coming in from like a business traveler. That's sort of like guaranteed. Yeah, it might be applicable to inventory systems on your end.
Are those with new customers or that's with email? That's existing customers.
Well, email for hotel world is just a channel, really. We won't necessarily have. It's very rare to have what we call closed loop promotions, where we don't offer it, outside the public. If it's something that hits our distribution systems, because usually we have contracts that say, okay, this is our price point. We won't sell past this because we'll have what we call a global distribution system, GDS. We won't discount it. We won't undercut it, so that when they distribute, we're not undercutting anybody else. And I guess the best way to look at it is, if I know that I can get this much business and I can have it at this higher rate, a business traveler would pay $200 a night for a room, and I know that a leisure traveler would not want to pay more than $150. If I hit my budget or exceed my budget, I can drop my leisure a bit more, so they can yield that way. So you can find your floor on your discounting.
Other questions? Well, one that I have an interest in, and that just because I was reading up on this stuff, is location-based email marketing. Are you guys doing anything like that, especially for some of the folks that maybe are doing some regional marketing?
I think geo-targeting and something like that is interesting to us, but not necessarily in the email space. We don't really have the volume. I think when we start thinking about that, if we have the volume, it makes a lot more sense. But at this point, it's probably down the list on things we're concerned about. Let's say, just for us, we would be interested in geo-targeting if we wanted to test a campaign or test an offer in a specific area or city or with a specific retailer. But we just don't have the scale. I mean, we do stuff like that when we do, let's say, a test. We test the product before going nationally. We will buy email lists in that region, but not with our specific list. So it's something we look at, but when we have our list, we just don't have the scale. And let's say you want to go in the Chicago area, something like that.
It's definitely a great point, but it's not something that applies to our business model at this time. How about you guys?
Yeah, I would agree, Sarah. I think it might be useful for companies that have physical locations.
Yeah. Small businesses.
Yeah, but for us, it's not something that is a huge impact.
I have one question. Is that a good tactic to use when you're in growth phase for small business as opposed to large established company like LegalZoom?
Yeah, so for the camera, so the question is location-based emailing and targeting a good starting point for a small business, as they're growing? And I don't know if you guys have commentary on that.
I would say it depends on what kind of small business and where you are and where you look. Actually a good example, we do have wonderful sweet scarlets. They're grapefruits. Okay. And they are, so it's not a small business exactly, but it is only in certain markets. Mm-hmm. So when we're actually developing our email campaigns or we're thinking about emailing our customers, we're not going to send that nationally because there's going to be a whole segment that are going to be really upset that they can't buy these grapefruits. So, something like that, if you have a small business, you don't want to start marketing your services to people who aren't going to buy it, or maybe you will in a year or a year and a half, but now you've sort of alienated them because they either went to the store, they tried to engage with your services, and now they realize either they think you don't exist or they think you're just trying to scam them or something like that.
And I've seen it work, again, really well where you have like a small business like Susie's Cakes, right? They only have 8 locations and they do a lot on social and email to actually get you in the store. And that's very localized, right? Because they have to send me to the Manhattan Beach store. So just think about like what the action or call to action is for your customer. And then I think location-based emailing and marketing would work. Yeah.
Right.
Where does Susie's Cakes, for instance, get their emails from? From the startup. Yeah.
As a startup, where did they get their emails?
Email lists are there, but
absolutely. And I think Howard, who uses Constant Contact, Constant Contact is really great at helping small businesses acquire lists in their region. Yellow Pages, the Yellow Pages has a whole nother division that's all sort of social led, so you can look at buying email lists from there. Probably some of the other ones like MailChimp have some of those offerings too.
But my understanding is that these people need to confirm first whether or not they want to get newsletters from you, because otherwise it's illegal to do so.
You guys want to comment on that?
Yeah, and this is clearly on the record, and this is sort of against best practices. You obviously have the checkbox there, right? And they have to automatically check in. I think when they do check it, you're going to get better responses. But if you have it pre-checked and they have to uncheck it, you're probably going to build your list a lot more quickly. So I think you need to look at your specific business goals there. So maybe you do want more lists. Maybe you're hoping that they're not going to get really mad at you for sending it and you're automatically sending them emails. So that's one way to do it. I mean, a double opt and then says, here, thank you for signing up. Here's a special offer. But on the subject of list building, we found it very successful to have contests. And I know that's a little bit of branding specific, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit because when we've had contests on social media, so and it's not just the big giveaway. I think everyone thinks big giveaway. We didn't see that convert as well as the daily giveaways. So you partner with somebody who can give 100 gift cards at like $10 off because the consumer believes that they have more of a chance of winning. And then they do sign up because then they see you as a company that is going to be having these kinds of things often are going to be providing value. So for us, small contests work all across our brands, from the CPG all the way to direct-to-consumer businesses.
And I would agree with that. What we've seen is that you give some, like the daily giveaway does work a lot better than the one, fantastic trip or two to Europe.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you. As you look at providers, ESPs these days, they're all trying to do, Gmail's doing little promo tabs and all that stuff. What are you guys doing to combat that, to ensure your lists don't become a quarter of the size over time?
Do you mean open rates become a quarter because they're
put in promo boxes.
Yeah, so I saw some preliminary data on that. Their open rates did decrease, but they weren't the nightmare overall that they thought they would be. So for us, I think you're right, there's that element, and I don't know if there's going to be a real way to combat it, but what we're hoping is that people will potentially go there looking for offers rather than opting out because you keep spamming them and they want to read, emails from, their grandma or something like that. So I think in that way, I think we go back to the tried and true, offer something of value to the consumer so that they see it, so that they want to go to that promotions tab, because maybe they start to feel like they're missing out, or maybe you can offer something that says, hey, I'm going to get some kind of special alert in my inbox. That's something that we're sort of thinking about, we haven't done, but that's something that might be able to combat it, because I know myself, I miss offers because then it's in my promos tab and it's 2 days later and then I missed it. So I think consumers used to be annoyed that they had to sift through, but now they're a little upset that they can't find the offer when they want to.
Yeah, we initially saw a very small impact as well, a decrease, and it's rebounded because our subject lines have we've gotten more creative with them, and it's been actually, I think it's been good. I think it train the user, the consumer, to go and look for when they're maybe ready to look at promotional emails.
Yeah, I was a little worried when they introduced that promo tab and, was asking our email service provider, what should we do? What are some best practices? And I saw in my personal emails from Guild, they have this little thing that says, Gmail users, make sure to star us or move us to your primary tab. And we actually tried that. But, we didn't really see a negative impact from that change. And I think the key is, again, to make sure that your messaging is relevant and providing value. Also, making sure when you're sending emails that you can set the expectation that we're going to send an email to you or trigger campaigns based on behavior, and kind of train your consumers to expect emails and when they're going to come, and just really improve the value, the content and value of what you're messaging.
Right,
One question. You had mentioned about subject lines. Do you have any subject lines that you see has the most impact, like when you first send it out to a client, like to make them open up the email? You know what I mean? Like something attractive, like something that
Saving
it's like.
For us, that's really, it's been that free shipping, saving money, discounts. That's really been, it's just a clear trend that we see.
We've also seen exclusivity help too, some kind of sense of just for you or just for your email signups. So something where they feel like they're getting an exclusive value by being on an email list that encourages them to stay on it because they know they're not going to get it anywhere else. So making sure even the offer inside there, it clicks out and it's specific to a URL rather than an offer code, because then that could go on some deal site.
But on that note, I just will add that even though the free shipping works, I'd be careful using the word free because that does get filtered out. Yeah, very cool.
For us, mentioning a sense of urgency, like if the promo is ending, like ends today, or you have 3 days left, that has really proven to be successful for us.
Right, well, I want to thank all our panelists today, everyone who participated in the audience.